showing Harris with a narrow national lead over Trump. Democrats are hoping to keep their momentum going at the Democratic National Convention in Chicago next week. Opening night of the convention will feature a prime-time address by President Joe Biden, in which he will tout his legislative accomplishments and why he picked Harris to take his place on the ballot.
That he will probably lean into that passing the torch message, and especially because he was able to so successfully anoint his own vice president, Kamala Harris, someone that he picked back in 2020 as the next nominee.
Now, Chicago's own former President Barack Obama will be the featured speaker on Tuesday night. Wednesday night, former President Bill Clinton will introduce Minnesota Governor Tim Walz. Now, Valley News Live, we will have a local team in Chicago for the Democratic National Convention. Watch for coverage all next week.